Now, today, we are focusing on poetry. It's one of the subfields of the creative industry that seldom receives some attention and talkability, but they are very, 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 very important to the industry. So today we are here to talk about them. We have in the studio Chief Mumin, he's a poet and a playwright. We have Kwabena Pra, he's a poet. Also here with us is Uncle Ken, who is a broadcaster. Will be joined on phone by Nana Asase, who is a poet and a literary coach. In the meantime, let me come to Chief Mumin, who has been touring the world, before we get into poetry. Chief, yeah, so let's talk about all the tours that you've been embarking on. You know, should I say globetrotting? No. So take us through it, please. His microphone is off, please. All right.
Yes, I'm back on now.
Yes, you're on.
Yeah. I mean, it's been fantastic. It's very, very challenging. You know, all the time that we've been doing the Mansa Musa productions out of Ghana, we've usually been doing the excerpts of it because of, you know, what it takes to do a full production.
Yeah.
But for the first time, we did the full production out of Ghana in Barbados at the invitation of the Prime Minister herself. We went with a delegation of 70 from Ghana, and then we worked with a team of about 80. And we did a full 2 hours, 45 minutes production in Barbados, and it was fantastic. It was great evidence for us at how this product is going to do culturally and commercially out of the country. This was the first time we had a full international audience, you know, in terms of watching the full productions, even though we've done many productions around the world. And it was great. I mean, we sold out. I mean, we were initially supposed to do 2 shows. We sold out those 2 shows, and we had to do a last show just the night before we flew out, you know, which was crazy. But even that we did, you know, we also have the Mansa Orchestra now, so now we have the theater production. We have the orchestra too. We did a huge performance, and the feedback was fantastic, and I think that we've opened a huge door to the Caribbean. We got back, we went to Algeria, we did the full orchestra performance at IATF, which was also fantastic. Before then we're in Abuja, you know, which was also great. We did the full orchestra, and then personally I've also been all over, you know, meetings, opening up opportunities, and I did my Kennedy Center performance.
Yes, that one
earlier this year. That one was also big, actually, right? Thankfully Trump didn't find out about it. Yeah, so I think that now, I mean, next year we're going to do even more. So now we're kind of like really solidifying the partnerships we're building around the world. Next year we're planning a major tour in different cities across the world, and I think that slowly and gradually the project is taking off. We're still, you know, in very, you know, interesting times in terms of the building the project, you know, and I mean, it's just this, you just have to do the hard work trying to, you know, I mean, export Ghanaian culture and Africans culture and creativity out of Africa. There are so many stumbling blocks. I mean, traveling with 70 people, for example, one of the major challenges getting to Barbados was flights. You know, we don't have a direct flight, you know, and by the time we started booking, tickets had gone so expensive. Economy class tickets on BA was costing us $8,000. So we had to look for a very long route, and that long route was going to take us from Accra to Casablanca, from Casablanca to Toronto, from Toronto to Bridgetown. So because of that, we needed to get Canadian transit visas, and now we had to pull all the diplomatic stops, you know, get transit visas for 60 people to transit through Canada. By the time thanks the ambassador, thanks to the consulate, we did get the visas, but they came slightly late. They came the day after our flight was supposed to leave. So the first team who were supposed to travel, 33 of them, they missed that commercial flight. It was the second team who went, and when they got to Canada, they went on strike. So they were in Canada for 5 days. So they were supposed to get there about 10 days before the main act. But when they got to Canada, they were stuck in Canada, and now the second headache was to get our colleagues who were in Accra to join us in Barbados. I was already in Barbados, waiting, running rehearsals. So I became a director, choreographer, everything all in one. So we didn't have. So at the end of the day, we had no choice than to charter, do 2 private jets to fly our people from Accra, you know, to Barbados, and all of the team got in the morning to our first show, which was the orchestra show, and it was fantastic. And then we rehearsed a couple of days with our brothers and sisters in Barbados, and we then did the full show. And we did a full show at their new National Arts Performance Center, which is designed by David Ajay, you know.
Oh.
And it wasn't ready actually, but they had to put it in readiness for us, the first phase of it. And so we're the first production to be actually hosted at the National Performing Arts Center of Barbados, which was great. Everybody came out, the full government, their ministers, MPs, celebrities, the general public. People couldn't get tickets, the Prime Minister herself, the President. So we were very well received, and I think that next year we're even going to do fantastic. Right now we're preparing for another major. So by within the week I'll be out again as an advance party. And
to where?
We're going to North Africa again, actually. So I would reveal. Actually, we're going to Cairo.
And then you'll be back next year.
No, I would from Cairo to China, and then from China back to Accra. So yeah, it's gonna be a bit heavy, but and in Cairo too, we're doing a full production as well. So it's
but
exciting.
You guys are making Ghana proud.
Yes, in fact, next year we would even be better. Now from next year we'll probably start taking our socials a bit more seriously, because now that the product is gaining a lot of international acclaim, a lot of people are looking for information. So a lot of these things we're just focusing on just getting the work out there, building the partnership, getting the funding to open up greater opportunities. But getting to the end of this year, I think we'll be a bit more deliberate in curating our social media presence and all of that. But so far, so
we are happy you're doing this. Not
you.
for yourself
Of
alone,
course.
but for Ghana as
Absolutely.
well. Do you have any events in Ghana
in December
before the year ends?
We are thinking of doing something around the December period. We're not too sure yet. We are still deciding. Maybe after we come back from our last major international trip, we'll see if we have some coins. Because when we're doing shows in Ghana, we know we're not doing it for money. We're doing it for the culture, right? We're doing it to build. And we know we have the part 2 actually coming up. We've started working on the part 2. If you've seen any of the Mansa Musa plays, you know that what we've had with the prelude. So actually what we are now doing this part 1. We have the prelude now, part 1, part 2, part 3. So those who have been waiting since 2022 when we did our first preview, hopefully early next year you get to see the second installment of the story.
Charlie, well done.
Thank you.
Well done. Also here with us today is Kwabena Pra. Sir,
Mr. Dazi.
Good evening.
Good evening, boss.
Second time having you here.
Most grateful, yes, sure.
Okay. What is on your neck? What's that? Tie.
Yeah, that's the
This is what we
catapult.
call tie.
Yeah, tie.
But why? Who are you going to tie here?
It's a symbol of defense.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, just as David, slew Goliath with a sling and a stone.
Yeah.
Samson slew the Philistines with a donkey jawbone. This is a form of defense, literally. So anytime you see me put on this, it's an armor of defense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How is poetry going for you?
Well, honestly, I've been in this for like the past 3 years. But
okay.
I've done stage acting and right from school days, and I wouldn't say it's something good to write home about. We are still struggling to find our feet in terms of performances, in terms of even people accepting the craft, the appeal. I've done a few performances in the country, and it's like the appreciation is there, but we need to step up the game in terms of our stagecraft, our resources, and also, event organizers also have to give us that recognition that poetry is also, a force to reckon with when it comes to creative talents, being put out there. So I would say it's a bit of a struggle for us as poets to find feet and also get that space of recognition, but we are not relenting on that. We are still trying to push through. Yeah.
I think I saw your performance during that Lumba Vigil. You were
yes,
on?
please. Yeah, sure, I was on.
Okay, and which other ones have you?
I've done the Lumba Vigil. I've done the Festac and Panafest launches.
Okay.
I've graced stages at the Goethe Alliance Française Institute, and where else? A few of them though. In the past 3 years, it's been really interesting and challenging, but there's been some high level performances I've graced, and looking forward to explore more other areas as well.
Okay, have you performed on events by your colleague poets? Because I know some of them have their annual events.
Not really, because I remember a couple of years ago when Nana Asase had his 10th anniversary.
Yeah.
I was a patron and I spoke to him, but time couldn't get me a slot on that stage. But I've spoken to a few of them, trying to have an appearance on their platforms, because unlike music, hardly do you see poets featuring each other, because the music space gives rooms for featuring and collaborations. But I'm yet to experience that in our space, and I'm looking forward to that challenge as well.
Okay, let me come to Chief. Chief.
Yeah.
In, let's say, one sentence, how would you describe the current state of poetry in Ghana?
This question is multifaceted.
Okay.
And so maybe it may be too simplistic to attempt an
Okay.
answer in a
one
sentence,
Okay,
because
please.
poetry itself is an expression. There's performance poetry, which is just one aspect of that poetry. There's
Okay.
the written poetry that people publish in their
Alright.
works. So maybe we need to be very specific
On
what
which-
we mean. Maybe
okay.
I figure that you are referring to the art
Performance.
of performance poetry,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
we kind of like really held on to over the past decade, when a number of young ones like us and Anasase back then and the rest, a Halakasa team, we started. I would say that it is still ongoing. I know that one of the oldest platforms is still going on very strong. That's Halakasa. Halakasa is
Oh,
doing
it's
a
still-
lot.
it's still-
Yeah,
Yeah,
Halakasa
first
is doing.
November,
Beautiful.
they're doing the slum fight
Halakasa
now.
is
Yeah.
doing slums, is
Wow.
is organizing school tours and all of that. So Halakasa, which has been an important, platform for nurturing young performance poets, have been on. My reading is that what has happened is that a lot of us who kind of like really, let me use it advisedly, champion the art, may be transitioning into other areas, so back then when we were back in school, so that when I say school, I mean the university, sometime between probably from the 2007, the mid 2000s going,
Yeah.
that's when really this new wave of spoken word performance poetry really kicked off, and you had people of equal thought, you had the Halakasa, you had so many platforms, and a lot of us, who started, we've been doing this for well over a decade. Right, and some of us got to get an opportunity to be on some of the biggest stages. Just when I was just coming, one of the things I was reflecting, and that's something I've discussed with Donna, I said that what probably we weren't deliberate about doing is telling our story well enough. Because if you look at myself, Nana Sase, Rhyme Sonny, Poetra Santoa, Sir Black, what's the name? Emma, who will be joining us.
Apioko.
Apioko
Yeah.
was in Barbados with me. She ran a whole poetry workshop.
Yeah.
She did performances and all of that. Unlike maybe the other forms of art that's a bit more expressive in its PR, in music, in comedy, which you'd also describe as popular, so they are in your face. I think that as performance poets, we are slightly more reserved. So most of the things that we do out there, we hardly ever put out. Like, we have been on some of the biggest stages. When I say, I'm not referring to just me alone. My colleagues, we've shared stage with head of states, heads of great multinational organizations, business, at the very highest level. Like, you speak and they also speak, right? But we've hardly curated those performances or presence in such a way as to make what we do front and center in people's minds. So maybe you sitting where you are, because you are not seeing a lot of the output or a lot of what we are doing in terms of with poetry out there, in your mind you may think that, okay, the industry is a bit down, but there are a lot of people who are doing it, and there's also the side effect of we also inspiring a new generation. Because these days, sometimes when they even call us to come for maybe interviews or do things on TV, I'm at a point in my career that I've cut down greatly
some of those
on a lot of their performance. And let me tell you a little joke. Last week, a friend called me. I had just left a meeting, and she was like, "Hey, Chief, do you still do poetry?" I said, "Yeah, I do. Yeah, kind of like this. Oh, my company is doing some breast cancer awareness month, and I'd want you to come." I said, "Chale. No, I'm not saying this out of spite. I was just trying to say that at this point.
But you mean that?
No, yeah, I mean going to do a breast cancer. I'm not saying breast cancer is not important,
Yes.
but at a company event, it will not even. At this point, I don't even have the time to write because I'm so swamped with all the things I'm doing. I was like, there are a lot of younger poets out there who cherish this opportunity, right? So this is a time for you to give those opportunities to them, because this year I can count the number of times I've actually done poetry like I used to do on stage. It's just a few, right now.
Maybe the plays are taking the
the theater, but also my theater
yes.
has a lot of poetry. Anyway, let me just put it in. There's a lot of poetry in my theater. But as like a performance poet, what I used to do, go to companies, like when they're having their events, they'll call me. I've really cut back on a lot of that. Also because most of the time when they even call me, I'm not in the country, because half of the time I'm out there. So I guess the main point I'm making is that we haven't done a lot in telling our story so far as poetry is concerned. So people may not have been able to track the growth. And because we are not also out there in the media, it's creating an impression as if the fire has died down. I don't think the fire has died down. I think that there are people who are still doing it. What we now need to probably do, those of us who are transitioning, is to ensure that we have spaces. And Nanasa is doing very well in that, because now he's a literary coach, and so he organizes opportunities for young people to come and learn. He has been consistent in doing his poetry shows. I ever did a poetry show about, I don't know, for a very long time. I haven't done like an exclusive poetry show. And what we also need is a resurgence of the performance platforms, because back in our time, we had a number of spaces you could go to that at least every weekend there was something happening. I suppose sustaining that has been difficult because we're doing it out of passion, we're doing it out of pocket, right? So sustaining it has been difficult. But we need to now get into a point where if we become more economically empowered, how then do we also make sure those spaces exist? I am sure there are many other spaces that I don't even know about, because sometimes I go and people comment, oh, there's this event here, have you? And I say, oh, I didn't know about that. I mean, this is my first time of actually meeting, Kwabena, right? And he introducing himself to me, and so maybe in a way to it has the performance poetry industry, if I can use that word, has been democratized. It's no longer a few close friends who are doing that. It's now spread across in communities. But how do we create greater visibility, and how do we create bigger platforms for them, and how do we encourage more corporate organizations to platform? Because that's how some of us all started, when the big companies used to put us on. So today, if we are not available, who else is available to step in? And I'm sure there are a number of them. So sometimes when they call and we're not around, we just say, okay, look, you can call this person, and they can take over. Yeah.
Okay.
So that will be my openest comments.
All right. Nana Sase is on phone right now. Nana?
Yes, sir.
How are you doing?
I'm very well, by God's grace. How about you?
We are doing well here as well.
Fantastic.
Nana, we're talking about poetry, especially poetry performance. Chief, is that the right?
Yeah.
Poetry performance.
Performance poetry.
Performance poetry. Good, that's the right expression. How vibrant are these performances, if I should ask you?
Okay. Thank you, Kwame. And let me greet everybody in the studio, especially my brother Chief. He has been away for a long time. You know,
a prodigal son. A prodigal brother.
In the studio. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Performance poetry is vibrant. Chief made a very important point. I think we are not so much in your face, so a lot of people do not really follow what is going on. But if you really enter our world, you realize there's a lot going on. Yes. Now, what he was talking about also is what we call commercial poetry, where, performance has been commercialized. You're not doing poetry for the purity of it, but, companies need you to put poetry to their events, to products, activations, and all of that. So I think it's a newer form, a newer version, that poetry is taking, and we need to learn these things. I'm a literary coach. I teach young people how to create. So I don't encourage people to say, and I've written this piece, I want to share it with you. No. I'm like, look, put your body of work together. Come to me. Let's sit down. Let's see the direction you want to take your creative energies to, so that it will make a lot of meaning to you now. Because you don't just get up and land on good platforms. You don't just get up and get into big spaces. So I think we need to make a conscious effort. We will do well to get into a lot of spaces, build collaborations, so that we can rely on each other's strength. That way we can attract the right kind of help and leverage, from corporate bodies and organized structures to ensure that what we do becomes a well-established industry. This will be my opening remarks.
Nana Sase, I usually see you on high-profile stages. How do you attract such deals?
Somebody asked me this question how many days ago. Consistency produces results. Consistency produces results. It's repeat business, it's recommendations, people who see you at other places, so they come looking for you. And relationships, strategic relationships. But while I'm not doing consistency, while I'm not doing referrals, while I'm not doing good relationships, I'm working on my craft. I'm working on my art to make sure Every time I'm summoned as an ambassador, I put a good foot forward so that another young person will be, invited to take such opportunities up. But you don't just get up and take such opportunities. Chief will attest to it. Your others will attest. The others in the city will attest to the fact that you need to work. You need to. This is a master's. Look, pay homage, learn, ask questions. That is how you get up there. So you don't just get up there. Unfortunately, a lot of young people see you as competition. You're not in competition. The world is too big. Space is too big. I mean, the chair you are sitting on, you're seated on just a portion of that chair. There's still a lot of room on that chair. So look at even that little space you're covering. You're not able to cover the entire space. So there's enough room. The best thing we should do is collaborate. Ask your brother, how have you done this? How have you been able to do this? Learn from them. Encourage each other. Sit down. Listen to how other people have done it. And that is how I believe we will go that far. Well, these things have worked for me. I believe if anybody tries them, it shouldn't be rocket science.
Nana, you do your performances sometimes in English, other times in Twi. Would you say this is one of the reasons that most people come for you for the events?
Well, this is what I do. Beyond English and Twi, if I need an expression in Spanish, I take my time, go and find it. If I need an expression in Ga, I go and find it, take the pains to master it and infuse it. If you do your audience research, you know who and who will be there, the countries they are from, the backgrounds they are from, so that you're politically correct, you know which expressions to use. Once you speak a man's language, you're speaking to his soul. So if I enter the room and greet you in so many languages, once you've heard your language I've spoken to you, then you have the convenience of switching to any other language, you would like to speak. I think it's one of the strengths I say I carry, but there are other factors. They can't just be singled out as that. And you realize that you need to be versatile. But when I'm not on your so-called big platforms, there are other equally big platforms in their own right? When somebody is getting married, you need an Ochiami, a proper linguist who knows how these traditions work. I'm a cultural consultant when I'm not doing poetry. How these things work, right? Someone is dead. How do we greet? How do you do these things? I perform for kings sitting in stage. So beyond all that we see on media, the flashy bits, there's also the part that gets you to learn and to work. And so, well, I hope I've answered you.
Well, okay. Now, you have organized Mental Pictures for how many years? 10?
Mental Pictures, this year, Mental Pictures would be its 10th edition.
It will be 10 this year?
Yes. Mental Pictures will have its 10th edition, but we took a little break. Otherwise, this year's edition will be its 10th edition, yes.
What has kept it running?
Okay, like I mentioned, consistency produces results, bro. And we need platforms. We need to create spaces for ourselves. If you need help, you do not just go to everybody empty-handed, cup in hand, asking for help. What have you done? Let me give you a very biblical example. Moses, what do you have in your hand? Jesus feeding the 5,000, what do you have in your hand? The Prophet Muhammad did not just take the territories he did, just like, what do you have in your hand? There must be something to multiply. After all the work I've done, after all the footage I have, after all the evidence I have, if I approach any well-meaning body in a very purposeful way, then they would want to respond. Two, I've given platforms to so many young creatives on my stages for these events over the years. You'll attest to it. Multi-art forms, not just poets, different poets from different parts of even Africa, I dare say. And so that is one of the things that has kept it going. And I believe in consistency. One day, it's serving its purpose, all right, but one day it will blow up like it needs to. Just one day, that is all it takes. So until that comes, why not keep going? Somebody also needs that opportunity, that platform to learn. Somebody, you never know who gets there, who meets somebody. It's also a networking platform. It's also a good platform to showcase your culture. I mean, out of these events, we have had quite, some good support, some good connections, and we can't stop. This is what we've been called to do. So while it is there, we must work the works of him who sent us. The night cometh when no man can work.
All right, Nana, please stay on for us. Let me get to Kwabena Pratt. Kwabena, so before you got into this whole space of poetry, what were your expectations or aspirations for the act?
Well, because honestly, this thing is inbuilt, and I would say it's a gift, from the creator. So I wasn't honestly expecting any monetary gains out of it, but just to, make an impact on society with the kind of words that I, spin out there. So I'm not looking at, a form of appreciation for in terms of monetary value, but I'm looking at, the words going far to make an impact on society.
Well, was this before you started, or still you're not looking forward to that?
Well, it's a two-edged sword. When it comes, I'll take it, but if it doesn't come, there are several platforms I've grazed without taking a dime.
Why?
And basically because I was looking for the opportunity to, let my voice be heard and also my words to go far. So I just don't look at the monetary aspect of it, but I'm looking at the impact the word is going to make on the lives of people.
You're not looking forward to commercializing your craft?
It's already commercialized. Yeah, because there are gigs that I do get that are paid for. So I would say that's a form of commercialization in it, because I do buy props. I have to costume myself. I have to pay my team. So basically, nothing goes for free. But if, there's an opportunity to excel that doesn't pay, and, that opportunity will also extend to other areas, why not? We grab it with both hands.
Okay, we're here on Joy 99.7 FM, Showbiz A to Z. We're looking at poetry, and Chief will say performance poetry in Ghana, the current state. We look at the challenges, the opportunities, and the way forward. Once in a while, we need to just go back and then see how we're faring in the various fields of the creative industry. You can send in your comments now, 05511119997. Before I come back to you, Chief, and then let me pick a quick thought from Uncle Ken. Uncle, how do you see performance poetry in Ghana at present?
Kwame, I did literature in school, O levels and sixth form. That is, if you guys will understand what I'm talking about.
We understand. We understand.
I also did same.
You did
literature
same.
in O level.
Yeah,
and
O
level,
level
yeah.
and sixth form.
Oh, Kwabena, you too?
Yeah, sure.
Yes.
I did literature.
Nice one, Kwabena.
Chief, Fantima
Chief
Bomediano.
didn't.
Honestly, my mom was a literature mistress.
She was a literature mistress.
Oh, okay.
Great. So I have been very interested in poetry and spoken word. And I had a family where certain members also did literature. And I always refer to my nieces again. Now, the reason I refer to my nieces, these days I don't even refer to them. Back in the day, Chief will tell you, I was always making reference to them. But they're grown-ups now and married with children. And
okay.
stuff. But back in the day, one of them was a literary student. And so always made the effort to invite me to some of their sessions. They had a group called Rainmakers.
All right.
Rainmakers, yeah. I know
Back in
Rainmakers
the day.
well,
And they used to meet at Afrikiko.
yeah. Afrikiko, yeah.
Yeah. She told me
Yeah,
about
Rainmakers.
you.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
people like Aziz and Co.
Okay.
And so I used to once in a while go
Oh,
up there
okay.
to listen to them recite, and do their thing. And it was intriguing. So I have been a lover of this. Now, a lot of people have issues with poetry and the spoken word. I think the spoken word is what Chief describes as performance
Poetry, yeah.
poetry.
Okay.
Because that is poetry where you have to express yourself
Yeah.
to an audience. And sometimes with accompaniment of music or theater.
Yeah.
Am I
Yeah,
right?
absolutely, yeah.
Yes. So it's intriguing. And in Ghana, I realized that the Goethe Institute had programs
Yeah.
and competitions for poets and spoken word people. And you mentioned a group. I don't know if it was
Halakasa. Oh, okay.
those guys. And then there was a women's poetry group
Platform, yeah.
a forum as well. So they've been in the country, a lot of these groups that have enhanced, the spoken word and poetry. I was happy when Chief made the point
Yeah.
that these days he hasn't got too much time, not because he's deriding
Poetry.
the corporate entities
Okay.
from inviting him, but because he's too busy. He's moved on to a certain level where he does not have time. But there are so many people in the sector who, like he said, they would use that opportunity where they go and become opening acts
Yep.
for conferences or musical shows, comedy shows, what have you. All these events where these people with the ability can go and open such events and shows for people to enjoy. So I think that it's a matter of them being deliberate about what they want to do and being in the faces of corporate Ghana. Like he said, they've taken a back seat for too long, and once upon a time, theater, even in this country, took a back seat.
Yeah.
But through the efforts of Uncle Ebo and others, and Chief and co, there has been a revival in theater, being in our faces and telling us how important they are to the development of our country.
Yeah.
And look at the results. People are thronging into theater performances to watch, listen, and gain insight into what they have to offer. And I think that the poets and the spoken word people should do same. In the 1990s, when I used to run the Baseline Jazz Club, the Baseline Jazz Club is now what is known as Plus 233.
Okay.
Okay. I used to run the Baseline Jazz Club back in the 90s. And on a Friday night, we always had a performance of spoken word artists.
Beautiful.
Who played, recited, and performed to the music of the resident band, which was a jazz band.
Yeah.
And they played in the background for him, and people loved it and looked forward to it every week. So I think that there's still the opportunity for such people to get in our faces and make us and remind us that they are an important tool in development and whatever you have in this country.
Nice. Thank you, Uncle Ken. Chief.
Yes.
How do we make poetry, performance poetry in Ghana more visible?
Great again.
Great
Just
again.
kidding.
Yes.
I mean,
Great again.
let's also understand that, performance poetry in itself is a mother of many other art forms.
True.
It's a mother of theater, the idea of an actor on stage, doing a monologue in itself is poetry,
poetry.
right? Music, draws from poetry.
Yes.
When you are writing, songwriting in its sense is a form of poetry. All of these rappers that you see are poets, in different ways. So it's really a baseline for many other things. It's just that there are some people who stick to the pristine form of the art. That's okay, I'm a poet. But really, many people in what they do are actually poets. When you even listen to advertising copy, you hear poetry, in there. So in a way, the very nature of poetry is that it permeates many other industries. And globally, it's not really a very popular kind of like industry. That's one thing. There will always be some few runaway successes. But if you go anywhere in the world,
it's for a niche
strict poetry would never be more popular than that theater as a whole, or music. Or other forms of art, right? It's in a way it occupies a niche space, which is important because it's also about expression, and it's not just. There are two ways. It's about the commerce, but it's also about the culture. For culture, it's about the expression, providing an outlet for young people, especially to express their thoughts and them themselves. That's why it's so important to have these opportunities in schools, whether it be it in JSS or in secondary school. It's also a way of building confidence and building your ability to speak. And that's why even if you still go to our schools, poetry is still big. When you do independence, we still have the poetry at Independence Day, the Appalachian tradition. And you know also that as Africans, poetry is so important to who we are as a people and our culture. All the language that you find, in our palaces are poets, which you find. And Nana Asasi alluded to when you go to weddings, and all of those MCs are actually poets. If you see the way they use language, at weddings, at funerals. So there's various iterations through which you can find the art form being expressed. For me, what is important as we build on this conversation is to ensure that the platform that nurtures that talent never dies. So right from our educational institutions, that they should keep doing what they do. Some people used to do poetry competitions. I'm not sure what happens right now pertaining that, but we should give that opportunity for people to be able to learn to express themselves, and poetry is one of the most interesting ways to build their confidence and their sense of expression. So once we are allowing that to happen in our educational institutions, we also create safe spaces like a Halakasa. One of the things I'll definitely admit is that the regularity of the open mic events that we used to have in the past is not as we have now, right? The spaces that you could go maybe on a Saturday night, Friday night at Afrikiko or this restaurant. So that's the kind of culture that we need to bring back, these spaces. We've talked about the fact that Goethe Institute has done a few of these things, but and for me, really, it's not about calling others to do it. It's about we ourselves who have been in the industry, who have grown in the industry, creating those platforms. And I know that from what we do, our production company, we have a huge plan, to bring at least to also contribute our quota in this space in a year or two by having something where regularly when you come, you can find different artistic expressions, including poetry, which will be very important. I have always said that poetry has done much for my career than anything else, and I intend to give back. What I'm doing today started with me as a poet standing on stage and someone seeing me and seeing value in what I'm doing. And then as I made that point that I want to build upon that, and also connect to what you say, how do you promote yourself as a poet? What we do, we don't go around sending proposals to companies and say that this is what we do, or at least that's not our experience. We haven't done that in the past, right?
Okay.
It is someone seeing us on a platform and saying that, oh, this guy can bring value to my program. That's how my career started. Me being on the platform, just doing it for the love of it. KSM seeing me and say, come on my show, thank God it's Friday. Me doing a poem on his show, putting my number out there, and people started calling me, hey, come and do a poem for me, how much you do charge, right? So that's how it started. And till date, I have never called anyone to say, oh, please give me a gig or put my my CV anywhere to say. It's because we built for a very long time. That consistency created some kind of an understanding that, okay, if you want this kind of poetry, this guy can do it. He talked about Nanasa saying his versatility in the local language, and he able to do all of these things. So it's about, so when young people come to me and say, oh, I want to do that, I want to get on TV, I say, look, focus on your comfort zone. If your comfort zone is your school, start by doing that, building your confidence. If your comfort zone is your church, the churches do a lot of these, artistic practice, right? The theater, poetry. The most important is visibility. Somewhere that someone can see you and think that you can add value to their program and invite you. And that's how all of our careers, whether it's me, whether it's Nana Asasi, whether it's poetry. But one of the things I would also add that even though we do this full time, we do a lot of things that are interconnected, right? So my poetry, theater, if you look at poetry, she's in publishing, she's organizing events, she's traveling around the world. So we are yet to have a system what one can say I'm a performance poet and that's all that I do. No, it's a talent that will lend itself to many things, especially in the media space, So if you harness that talent can find expression in different ways. So it's not just about you standing on stage performing for an audience. You can work in advertising, you can work in publishing, it's expression, and wherever expression is relevant, you can be relevant in that industry. So What is important is keeping those spaces alive. I admit that some of those spaces have gone down, or at least some of those are not as happening as regularly as possible. So we need to bring a few of those back. But those are things that we in the industry who have grown in that industry must do as part of our contribution. Some of the social spaces that think they can do it, they can collaborate with some of the performers. They are young people looking for spaces, to express themselves. And I think that by ensuring that there's regularity of space for young people to express themselves, will be keeping that tradition very much alive, very much active, and some people will be identified from there who will go on and do bigger, exciting, and greater stuff.
Good one there, Chief Moment. Nana Asase, how do we make performance poetry in Ghana better, more visible?
Okay. You've asked a question I should direct back at you. How do we? I like the way you said we. Let us make money. How do we make it more attractive? The media has been our friend. We have a lot of friends in the media. Please, I've always said, we are content. You don't just have content, we are content. You have the platform. Lend your platform to the content, and together it will be visible. Because if your content is good, people will keep coming back.
Nana?
And where do you get the content from?
Nana, can you hear me?
Come here, I can hear you loud and clear.
Your line is not too clear. Could you please position the mouthpiece well?
Sorry, is it better?
Better. Fantastic.
Is it better?
Yes, way better. Yeah.
Good. I'm saying I tell my friends in the media, and I'm telling you something I've told you off air before. Kwame, you have the platform, or you are the platform. We have the content, or we are the content. Lend the platform to the content, and this will be good. And people will keep coming back to both of you. We can use social media. We will do our best. However, mainstream media brands have also done a lot of work in positioning themselves in such a way that the authorities in, information dissemination.
Not a single one ever.
So having such conversations are helpful. Let's take it a notch further. Let us have strategic collaborations with poets. Let us put poets up there as brand ambassadors for products, for movements, for something, right? And let the voices be heard. Look, let poetry push a certain cause. Otherwise, it will just be beyond the academic realm, just for the leisure of it. If poetry can push something, it will thrive, right? So I believe that social media would work, mainstream media will work, educational institutions, mostly private, because government will take a lot of policy. It's going to take a long time. Charlie, not be right now. If we are able to do such things, poetry as an art form will be put to the fore. What would poetry be in this case? Sanitized language. Sanitized language. Let's take it out of the standard and emphasize sanitized language. We can create institutions of learning where people can come in, and have people who have built their craft teach or pass on. There are older poets who might not be able to sit in your studio for 2-3 hours. We still have access to them. We can make use of them, have younger ones around them where they can impart the knowledge they have gathered before they leave. Let us make poetry beautiful. We can put poetry into mainstream advertising, not just BTL, not just below the line, mainstream advertising. And let us make a deliberate effort, something that Nigerians and the Francophones have learned very well, to Ghanaians in corporate institutions. In a little while, artists are going to be major thought leaders, in a lot of ways. If we are deliberate about pushing Ghanaian brands, Ghanaian poets to be major voices, it will go a long way to help Ghana. Cultural diplomacy on the plate at this point. Alhan Islam, my sister from Nigeria, was at the UN General Assembly. It could have been a Chief Moment, it could have been an Nana Asase, it could have been a Rantoni, it could have been a Poetra Ama Santua, it could have been an Emma, it could have been anybody from Ghana too. So why not Ghana? It takes deliberateness. People in strategic places, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Ministry of Tourism, Arts and Culture, when you have the opportunity to have cultural ambassadors, please, poets. Poets just need how many minutes to put all of Ghana out there? How many minutes to sum up all of Ghana? We can do these few things.
Yeah, surely we can. Please be on. Still, let me come to Kwabena Pra.
I'm here.
Kwabena, how do we make this trade better for all of us?
Well, I think the
Trendsetters have hit the nail right on the head. Looking at, for now, there's a level of appreciation to the craft. And I think, as Nana Sase did say at first, the level of consistency that we put into the craft would also let people appreciate us the more, because looking at, the opportunities that abound in the creative space, poetry, it's one of the forces, if we give it a much attention, is going to take us there. So we are looking at people, poets ourselves, coming together to create platforms on our own. Just a while ago, we were talking about Rapaholic. It's somebody's initiative.
Yeah.
Nana Sase has his own, platform that he puts out annually.
Yeah.
I've also, drafted something that I'm also coming up with.
Oh, okay.
So I think, as time goes on, when these platforms are, given attention, definitely poets are also going to rise. Because recently when I participated in the Halekasa slam thing, I got to know that a lot of, school graduates are entering into the space, and, there are a lot of talents out there, and we need to encourage them the more. And if you want to encourage such talents, it's the platforms that we need to make available to them. Hardly do we even find poetry competitions in our media space, on radio and on TV. It's non-existent. I'm a radio broadcaster. I've done journalism for like 20 years. I've hosted morning shows.
Oh, okay.
And, occasionally I do put a few words out there. But if it's with a concerted effort, people will, appreciate the craft more and patronize it anytime we call for, a program.
Talking about that, okay, Chief,
Yeah.
some have also spoken about collaborations between maybe musicians and filmmakers and other creatives to project the brand of poetry some more. Do you think that's a good idea?
No, actually, I mean, my good friend, 100%, also one of the seniors in the
100%,
industry,
yeah.
and Emma and Co, they've been working hard to do the Poetry Association of Ghana, to put that association together to be able to have a common cause. So that has also been ongoing. As I said, for me now, I actually think it's our responsibility now, because at least those of us who have been in it for a decade plus, who've had some of the biggest opportunities. So right now, when I'm even talking, I don't even reflect outside. I reflect within that. Within the next couple of years, what can we do? And it all comes down to resources, really. Some of these things about having money to keep something running, for consistently. And I think that we are getting to a point where it's even being done. Someone like Poetra, she does her Black Girls Glow. They do all these writing workshops where they camp young ladies, and she's been doing amazing. And she runs, in fact, she should have even been on the program. She has a publication that puts their young people's work out there, right? Tamped Press, right? So Emma did the International Women's Poetry Festival, where they brought a number of poets from other African countries. So when you really look at it, we're actually doing a lot of work. As I said, my platform, even though it's theater, is also very heavy on poetry. In fact, there's the poetic cadence that runs through my performances that makes them unique, right? And we're giving opportunities to a lot of young Ghanaians, big international opportunities as we travel around the world to do stuff, and we're going to do more. So I think that we are now at a point where we're kind of like legacy building, and as we get more empowered, where would we spend our money? We'll spend it in the fields that we know. What are the fields? Poetry would forever be our first and foremost field, right? So it's about what we now can do for the industry that has done so much for us, and I have personally committed to investing in the space, having a space where young people can come around, and we are building an entire strategy and build. And in the next couple of years, some of these things, and kind of say, I've gone to a point in my life I believe in doing, rather than just saying, right? And rather than saying that government must do this, corporate Ghana must do this, I believe in the power of individual initiative. And as we are building partnerships within the next couple of years, I think that we're going to see a lot of transformation in the creative space. And we see there's a lot happening in the creative space. So the music, the comedy, theater, poetry. I think that we're going to push transformation, great transformation.
Okay, thank you, Chief. Nana, there is something that the comedians are doing now. You see them on each other's platforms almost every time.
Yes.
Do you have that in poetry as well?
Yes.
You do.
We have done it. Contemporaries of mine have done it. 100. You realize some names keep coming up. We have done it. However, you realize there are layers, right? And relationships is key. And a lot of the action takes place off stage. Coming. A lot of the work takes place off stage. I think Chief has been to almost every mental picture session. Chief has been here. There are people you invite, they'll give you one fantastic excuse. That's all right, you can't be everywhere. There are people who have not read a single poem of yours, have not been a single show of yours, have never interacted with your work. They just pop up. Oh, will you come and do X, Y, and Z? They just want to use your whatever you've built, write on it, and then it dies off. They are not here to be serious. They are not here to be consistent. So sometimes you're measured in who you allow into which space. And Chief said something about mastering your comfort zone. People are calling for platforms. Come, you'll be surprised. You put people on certain platforms, and the platforms might swallow them. The platform might swallow them. There have been cases where you run your show, you plant an open mic within the show. Fellow artists, you might give discounts, sometimes free tickets. People will still not attend these shows. Why? Because in somebody's face, this person is competition. When rather, if you ask Chief, a lot of collaboration in the background has helped to bring us a long way, where we are. Trading ideas, sharing ideas, giving very constructive feedback to each other. So I would encourage our people, like I've said, the space is big enough. One person can't do it, 2 people can't do it, 10 people can't do it. Let's collaborate. But we have done it in the past. We have done it. 100 has a show, we are here. Emma has a show, we are here.
Yeah,
Whoever has had a show. In the past, how many years? 10, 15 years. We have done that. We have had good collaboration. There used to be, what was Lord the Poet Show, Chief? What's the name of Lord's show?
I forget, but
Lord the Poet was in Tema.
Tema, we used to go. Chale Yachiwo.
We've been to Tema. We've gone to Kumasi. Look, so we have done it.
All the way to Kumasi.
But just to say this again, we've not told, probably not shared enough of those stories. So moving forward, I always believe in moving forward.
We have come and we shall go.
We need to do more. The comedians have very good relationships off stage. A lot of them are my friends. Very good relationships off stage. So it's not in the limelight that we need to show something which is not. We need to make a deliberate effort. In the past, Sir Black, God bless him wherever he is, on campus open air theater, we were there when Halakasa was born. We had this thing, even off stage, this camaraderie was there. For us, the likes of Nananya Akobwateng, Mutombo, we have been friends off stage. So it makes it easy to make these things work. So I think it takes that deliberate effort as well. Instead of thinking, oh, okay, I need to be first, I need to be second. No. If we go together, we win. If we go together, we do so much more. We're able to take more ground. Yeah.
Nana, let's give some hope to up-and-coming poets. Now, I know poetry has taken you places. Can you name some of these places you've gone to the world over?
Poetry. Okay. Poetry, both physically and virtually, poetry has taken us different places. When COVID was on, it was just virtual performances, which were events which were supposed to happen in certain places.
Yeah.
Poetry has taken me to Afrexim's AAM early on in this year. Afrexim's AAM, which had about 55 heads of state. Dangote is right here, President Tinubu is right here. I stood on such a stage. I've been to the Dubai Expo with my troupe, to represent Ghana. Last year in Doha, in Qatar as well. I was there. I've done the Guba Awards in London. Other places in Africa. We could list a lot of them. Even right here in Ghana, we've done a lot of work. I think they should suffice.
Nana, Chief is talking to you.
Yeah, Chief.
Yeah. So I just want to connect to a point where I was making about, how we are not necessarily we don't put our work out there. So now imagine any of the big Ghanaian musicians were on a platform like the opening ceremony of the Afrexim and Canal meetings in Abuja, and I was there and performing before heads of state and Dangote, they'll blow it all over the media. Hey, Stonebwoy in front of this. But we do this and we move on to the next. Move on to the next. So, maybe by also doing that too, if we also a bit curate those visibility a bit more, it may add up to the general image of the craft, because they take
We should.
advantage of these things, and we've been on the
We should.
biggest platforms that we don't make noise about it. Anyway, also
But Kwame
because-
Dazi is the only one who writes about them. though.
actually Kwame Jan is the only one.
Yes.
Yeah, Kwame, you are the only one. Oh.
And Kwame,
Kwame, it's
Yeah.
true.
Let me take my
Mm.
flowers, hibiscus flowers.
Yes, why are they?
Kwame,
You are the only one. Why are they?
And again.
I mean,
Yeah.
I like what they are talking about.
Yes, please.
But then the onus is on them to blow these things out.
Yes.
I checked, and there's so many events by poets in this country that people
Yeah.
do not know
Yeah.
about.
Yeah.
Look,
yeah.
you have the Ghana Poetry Festival.
Yeah.
It's an event that includes outreach sessions in schools and larger gatherings at the National
Yeah, from
Museum.
our brother.
And it features various interesting sessions with literary figures. You should have regular poetry series and gatherings. The
Ehalakasa.
Ekasa, you know, collaborative events often held at the National Theatre. How many people know of this? Poetry Time at Goethe Institute, a significant cultural institution that hosts poetry workshops, events, and the Ghana Poetry Experience. Writers Project of Ghana,
Yeah, Writers Projects has been ongoing.
you know, an organization that hosts poetry readings and conversations, such as Poetry Time at the Goethe Institute and Chaskele in Kumasi. There are these things happening in the country. And so, if they have an organization or an association, they should be able to project these events in the public space so
Awesome.
people can participate in them.
We will.
I love
mean,
that.
Oswald, that's our brother. He's in charge of the
Okaite.
Ghana Poetry Festival.
Yeah,
He's also been a great
Okaite is
champion.
another great
yes,
guy.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so last words. Let me start with you.
That was
Kwame
mine.
Napra.
Oh.
That was yours, yes. Thank you very much. Kwame Napra.
Kwame, I think
Yeah.
it's been a fruitful discussion, you know, especially meeting Chief Momen and Nanasa. I've been to his office a couple of times,
Okay.
and we've had, you know, a lengthy conversation as to how
Nice.
to pick up the space. And going forward, I think, you know, such conversations needs to be done the more, so that people will come to accept our craft and also appreciate what we offer. Because if we don't talk about it, it's like, you know, lighting a candle under your bed. So the more we have such platforms to deliberate on our craft and also, you know, perform. You know, the last quarter of this year, a whole lot of programs are coming. They should also infuse poetry in such, you know, programs.
I love that.
Because somebody might think, oh, it's just a 5 minutes performance. But looking at the kind of background work that goes into your performance,
Yeah.
when you mount the stage, you alone knows what you've, you know, consumed before, you know, getting
Sure.
on stage. So they should come to appreciate us and not think that, oh, you are coming just for like 3 minutes and you are charging 5,000. Boss, this one is too much. You know, it's a bit frustrating, but they should come and appreciate us for what we do and how we craft it. And poets needs to also level up our game by, you know, being appealing when we mount the stage.
All right.
Nana Sase has his own way of costuming himself on stage. Chief has his own exclusive way. I also have mine.
Yeah.
You know, those are artistic features that helps to drive the arts, you know, up there. And we are welcome to criticisms and to, you know,
Awesome.
expand the space as well. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Kwame Napra. Chief, 30 seconds.
Kwame,
Yeah.
when you see me returning from the stream carrying an empty pot, do not ask me where is the water. For not everyone goes to the stream to fetch water. Some of us go with our pot in pretense, hoping that we may crash into a date that may end up becoming our wife for us to build our life. We're freestyling, I mean,
freestyle.
freestyling, I mean, film. We can't
I
do
love
poetry without some poetic gymnastics.
I love it.
But I mean, essence to say that, Charlie, we all walk our path, we all have our aim and focus in life, and we all have to be dedicated to that vision. And
Yeah.
I think that for me, it's a personal commitment. I know all my other colleagues have made those personal commitments, and we're going to do our best to help
Okay.
improve, you know, the poetry scene in the country as much as we can. And in so doing, we also salute our elders, and then we also salute one of our great dramatists who passed away recently, Ben Abdallah, Dr. Ben Abdallah.
Oh,
you know,
yes.
I love.
No.
I mean, I think we have to find time to talk about him and his impact.
Sure.
But I thought I would use, since we are in the literary space, to use this opportunity to honor him and his contribution
you.
to the literary space in Ghana.
All right, thank you very much, Chief Moomin, Kwabena Pra, Uncle Ken, Nana
Abeku
Sase.
sends a message to you. He
Nana
says,
Sase.
thank you very much. for
Thank
the
you,
discussion."
Abeku, and then thank you, Nabil Al Hassan as well. My name is Kwame Dazi. Show was brought to you by MTN Everywhere You Go and Superstar Multi Food Ring, and the show was produced by Philip Nye, Anita Te, Olivier Fagnan. We're back next week.